So I want to take a minute and introduce the Rebbitzin. Rebbitzin Orit Esther Riter was born in Brooklyn in New York. She's a caterer by profession, holding a culinary arts degree from the Culinary Arts Institute in New Jersey, which is a very fine one for those who know. But when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2006, she was forced to close her catering company, which had served that tri-state area for over 15 years. Despite her incurable illness, she found healing through spiritual empowerment. In 2009, Orit made Aliyah from Monsey, New York to Beit Shemesh. She began teaching Emuna and essentially went from feeding the body at Simchas to feeding the soul with Simcha, which I think is the most amazing transition.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
She nurtures herself and others by emphasizing the importance of establishing a close-knit relationship with God. She focuses on learning and teaching the essential value of living a meaningful life with joy. Orit Esther authors the Turnaround book series, which is in the back, and she invites people to leaf through the book even when she's speaking. She says the whole gestalt will maybe add to your enjoyment if you like. And also she has a daily dose of Emuna article series and provides emails about Emuna to thousands of subscribers, and that list continues to grow. She speaks internationally about developing a loving relationship with our Creator, teaches practical and effective coping skills with life's difficulties, and guides inspirational trips to the Ukraine. Her seminars are available for viewing and listening on several websites, which you may not remember, but you can get by Googling her name, and they all come up. TorahAnytime.com, The Daily Dose of Emuna YouTube channel, Hidabrut Worldwide, Kol Lashon, Chazak, and Eish HaTorah. Orit Esther passionately believes that her ability to guide and empower others by strengthening their reliance on God will fortify them, us, with essential tools needed to live a purposeful life. Thank you for coming. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to Naomi for being very instrumental in putting together tonight's evening. Melissa, for your beautiful help. The Young Israel of Netanya, for providing us with the space to learn and to grow. Chodesh Tov to everyone. It's on one hand, we're told in this month we have to lower down the smiles. But interesting, even with that, God said, not too much. Just put it down a notch. So if you really have a belly laugh, usually just do a half a belly laugh, you know. Just bring it down a little bit. But still, even with that, God says, I don't want you to be despondent. I don't want you to be in despair. So we should have a Chodesh Tov Be'ezrat Hashem. I'll start off with a dedication for Klal Yisrael, and then we'll have I'll introduce a little bit the books, and we'll talk a little bit tonight about turning around our emotions, particularly in the month of Av. It's not an easy month to turn around our emotions, and what do we turn around, and where do we go, and where do we come from, and where are we going, right? So it's an interesting month that we are going to be exploring. So first I'll start with the dedication. All that I say and all the chizuk that we gain, bring nachat ruach to Hashem Yitbarach, serve as a zchut for Klal Yisrael, and invoke rachamei shamayim for all those in need of yeshuot and nechamot. Amen. We covered all bases there, right? Whoever needs whatever they need, and whenever they need, how much they need, and what space they need, God should shine His light on them. So yes, I'm very, very excited because this is my first book signing tour in Netanya. I have, in general, in Israel. I literally just came back this morning from Montreal, and came straight here. In fact, as Naomi wrote me and she says, "Are you back yet? Did you arrive safely?" Wanted to make sure I get stuck up in the air somewhere. But this is very exciting because this book is the latest, and this is the first. This is really more of a program. It's like the beginning stages, 180 degrees and 180 days you learn every day. Hopefully you start off in A and you go down to a little bit more than A after 180 days, 6 months of learning. But it's a lesson a day where you learn a little bit of Emuna every day, kind of takes you through a program. There's some exercises getting practical every day so you really feel like you can interact. I'm a very practical person. I don't like to just give to give a class. I like, hopefully everyone walks away with something that they can actually apply in their own lives. And this is more of a chapter book, but this is definitely more deeper in the sense that it talks about emotions. First of all, there's a part of it that talks about my healing journey with my MS and my multiple sclerosis. But then it gets into really the deeper aspects of Emuna and emotions and the importance of being in touch with your emotions, as I have done. Later on, it goes into the actual energy, emotional states that we find ourselves in, and how to make actually connectivities between certain physical ailments and emotional ailments and spiritual ailments, trying to read our bodies just a little bit more than just going to a doctor and getting a Tylenol, right? A little bit more deeper, refined work, and there's like different maps almost that you can go through. And the last part of the book talks about energy, and I'm a certified energy practitioner. I work with people's energy fields, and we process our emotions through our energy fields, all under the supervision of Rav Wozner and Bet Shemesh. So it's a wholesome process of running us through our emotional state, and at the end there's just a lot of meditations and practical exercise and skulas. I'm very proud of the book. Baruch Hashem, it's a big zchut. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just have a request from Valerie that there will be mentioned a memory of
Yes.
Valerie. Can you say memory of your
Yona ben Moshe HaKohen and Shaul Bas Eliyahu.
Amen.
And also
In their memory?
that's from my side.
In their memory?
Yes.
Should to serve as a zchut and aliyah for their neshama amongst all the righteous who have departed from this world. Amen. Okay. So I want to, begin to talk a little bit about, again, processing our emotions, particularly in a month like this month, where we're, on one hand, it's Av, hello, like come closer to me. On the other hand, it's a month where the only way to come closer to Hashem is through a place of, despair, not despair, but difficulty and challenges and the loss of the Bet HaMikdash and the exile of the divine presence in the world. Like, is that the way we're supposed to come close to God? So it does put upon us this idea of having to ask a question to ourselves: why is this month called the month Av? Is it a month that we are also supposed to work on baseless hatred? Right? We're supposed to work on loving our fellow neighbor. Well, obviously there's a connection between fatherhood and coming close to God and loving our neighbor. And, hopefully we'll go through some of the pointers. One of the main pointers where I think we get misled sometimes and we get sort of off track in terms of loving our neighbor, we think that it's all about external work. We take all of our work as it being, I have to work on having a relationship with this one, that one, and the other. When essentially Torah teaches us a whole book of instructions and a guiding path that we're meant to work really on ourselves. All the work that we're supposed to work on is inside. We're not here to change the world. We're here to change ourselves. And bit by bit by bit, as every single one of us works on changing ourselves, we essentially are able to change the world. It's like having a whole crew of people, and we give everyone a little box, and we say, this is the box that we want you to paint. And you could do anything you want in that box, but this is your box. Don't go out of your box. This is your box. This is the box you're meant to paint. And as we set up all this crew, we set up a line of people as they come in and come out. As each one finishes their box, we'll find that the whole room will be painted. And this is essentially what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to focus on our little box internally to work on ourselves. And there are two places that were brought to my attention. I wanted to make mention where when we work on ourselves, how essentially it spills over and it affects other people. So Rabbi Chaim Voloshin says, as you pour wine into a vessel, as it overflows, it begins to spill forth and touches others. Right? So we see from here that obviously, and it's a logical thing, we know you pour, a glass of wine, it overflows. Well, obviously it's going to start affecting others. As we make room within ourselves, we work on freeing ourselves of all the blockages and the resentment and the negativity that we hold in our hearts, and we all have. We've all got a peckle of stuff that we really need to process and we need to let go of. As we let go of it, we have more room to accept more godly light that God is always spilling onto us, but He can only spill so much if our cup is full. We have to constantly empty it out and empty it out and empty it out and say, yes, I want more, I want more. Oh, I like that. Yeah, send me more. And as He continues to send us more, that excess begins to affect and radiate, and by default starts affecting others. And that's the way we change the world. We change the world through us. We are the vehicles through which everything changes. We're not supposed to stay stuck and say, everyone move now, and we're just like this. It's like saying to your child, didn't I tell you not to scream in the house? Didn't I tell you not to hit? And you're throwing things all, right? Obviously, we need to do everything in ourselves. We can't sell something to someone else unless we buy it first and we really enjoy it and we really process it and we really are attached to it. So this is the example of Rabbi Chaim from Volozhin. Then we have the example of Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, and this is a beautiful teaching that he comes down and he teaches us. And he says, when a yeshiva bachar studies Torah, and it's just an example, right? When yeshiva bachar studies Torah in Eretz Yisrael, there's a Jew in Paris that comes back to tshuva. And here we understand the whole concept of arivim ze. There's ze la ze. There's a little machloket. There's a little, concept of not really knowing how to process that verse in Torah. Some say arivim ze ba ze, and some say arivim ze la ze. So it's one for the other or one into the other. At the end of the day, it kind of means the same thing. We're not going to go into little nuances. There is a difference, but for our purpose tonight, we're going to just understand that we all are one big chulin pot. You're the potato, I'm the beans, one is the paprika, one's the honey, one's the marrow. Everybody's got something, and we're all doing it together. So what is the reason for this? What is, okay, there's logical reasons, we understand, but why do I have to hold responsibility in my neck of the woods for something that someone's doing on the other end of the world? At the end of the day, if he pulls down, I go down. He pulls up, I go up. I pull to the side, everyone moves to the side. Literally, there's a matrix going on around us, and as I lift my hand, other people lift their hand, and we don't realize this, but we are constantly being moved, swayed, and changed by the consciousness of others. Particularly the Jews, right? We are the heart and the pulsating beat of the entire world. What's the purpose? So I wanted to bring down two main reasons of this whole Arivim Ze Bazeh. And after that, hopefully we'll make a connection to the whole month of Av. And we'll realize the importance of working on our emotions, dafka in, particularly in this month, and how this brings us closer, essentially to God. So one of the things that we learn is that, and we know this, everyone has the Pintele Yid. Yes, we all know what the Pintele Yid is, that godly spark. But we always forget to mention one thing in regards to the godly spark. We always forget to mention that spark is perfect. Believe it or not, there's a part of you, inside of you, pulsating, revitalizing your system, that you're constantly, and it's a complete part of perfection. And it's all the time feeding you with this perfection. Now, on the other hand, my perfect spot is not your perfect spot. So I could be, quote unquote, perfect in chesed, in cooking for women who just gave birth. That's my thing, right? Everybody has their thing. They're like perfect in it. They really, really know how to perform that mitzvah, and it's theirs, and they own it, and they embrace it, and it's theirs. Or, I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't bother me if somebody takes my parking spot, for instance. I just heard from my husband that someone got very upset yesterday here in Israel and did get very upset, and I don't want to say the rest. But unfortunately, there are people, that's their weak spot. But for me, that doesn't bother me yet. I'll tell you plenty of things that bother me. I mean, I have plenty of them. My list is really a whole Torah scroll. I can definitely give you things that bother me, but that's not yours. That's mine. So we're taught in the Torah, one of the reasons why we're connected and intertwined with one another is because my imperfect state is your perfect state. And when I merge with you and I connect to you, your perfection on my imperfection makes my imperfection a little bit more perfect. And so the collectivity of when I'm down in the dumps and I know I have this test in my life, and yet I know I'm going to call upon a friend or a family member or my spouse, right, hopefully. I'm going to call upon someone and I'm going to say, I know that you excel in this particular place in your life. Can you share how you do it? And learn from them and grow from them and unite with them from your imperfect state so that their perfect state can shine on you, and guess what? Your imperfect state will become a little bit more elevated. So this is one of the reasons why we essentially, God wanted us to, He intended for us to share ourselves with others. He didn't intend for us to keep ourselves to ourselves. The whole purpose is to share. Right? The whole idea of being connected to God is that we share the light. And then again, through that, we resonate it out to everybody else. Unfortunately, though, the Western culture teaches us a very interesting message that I'm not quite sure we need to be embraced. And the Western culture goes like this. You're annoyed by someone? Get rid of it. What do you mean? Somebody's bothering you? Just get rid of him. You have a headache? Pop down a pill. You have a boo-boo? Get a Band-Aid. So we're living in a generation where the annoyances, we're told to run away from them. And Hashem, God tells us, are you kidding me? I don't want you running away from them. Their message is there for you to embrace within yourself. There are messages there that I want you to embrace. In fact is, one of the main disciples, I really enjoy the Torah, the Baal Shem Tov, to the point where I'm kind of obsessed with it. To the point where my kids will say, don't you know they'll come to me and say to me, Mom, don't you know there are other rabbis besides the Baal Shem Tov? You're always talking about the Baal Shem Tov. I'm like, that's me, I'm very, very, to the point where, by the way, if anybody's interested, September 17th to the 23rd, I'm leading a group to the Ukraine to celebrate the Baal Shem Tov's birthday. Chai Elul, we're going to be in the Ukraine, we're going to be Shabbat by Rabbi Nachman. I regularly lead these trips. I have a group from America, I have a group from Israel. It's a very, very, very rejuvenating trip. Literally, we have mishpuchas that we form for years now, and we're in touch with one another, and we wait to go back and, go back to the tzaddikim. So I'm inviting everybody to join the next trip. But anyway, one of the main disciples of the Baal Shem Tov is called, his name is Toldot Yaakov Yosef. And he teaches us that in every thought that we have, there are thousands of soul sparks that are seeking to be redeemed by us. Meaning, if I'm in the middle of my davening, right? I'm in the middle of doing something, and I went shopping, I went to Alaska, I went on a trip, I was in Hawaii and drinking pina colada on the beach. I was doing a lot of things while I was davening. I traveled quite far. The Toldot Yaakov Yosef teaches us that those thoughts, even those thoughts, have sparks of godliness that waited to be redeemed. Basically, you're supposed to interact with them. Again, this is not a class on how to work through your thoughts. I teach that as well. But the idea is that in everything that you think, that you interact with, even your wishes, even your imagination, in everything that you encounter, even the most downtrodden, lowly, horrible thoughts that we sometimes have and entertain in our minds. By the way, the pop-ups are not your responsibility. The fact that they pop up into your mind, that's not you. That's a test. I love to say, this is a test. This is a test of the broadcast system, right? I always used to listen to it on the radio. So the idea of this thought kind of popping up in your mind, that's not in your realm. What's in your realm is the second after that. What do you do? How do you respond from that thought? Where do you go? Where do you grow? And where do you go from that thought? How do you advance yourself in life from that thought? So the Toldot Yaakov Yosef Zatzal teaches us that from that place of thinking, from that interaction, from that annoyance, from that thing you want to get rid of, just what caused it, let's just get rid of it today, right? We're in a real exchanging generation. No, washing machine doesn't work, throw it out, you can buy a new one. By the time, really think about it, by the time you pay the money to fix something today, you might as well buy a new one. They do that by purpose, but unfortunately it puts us in a mentality of everything has an alternative. This doesn't work anymore, marriage doesn't work anymore, just, again, I'm not talking about abuse, please just, everything in proportion. I'm saying that all in all, we're not taught to work through things. In fact, we're taught to relieve ourselves from the annoyance as quick as possible. If that exit is quicker to get rid of you, I want you there. If it's going to take you a little bit longer for you to walk through the door, don't go there, go only there. We are just constantly taught, just get rid of the annoyance. And here we're learning that there's an aspect of myself in the annoyance. Not only from where we just mentioned now, stage number 1, where I am actually elevated in my imperfection through your perfection, but now I'm going to hit another point. Now I'm going to hit another point of why this interaction with people, why am I mixed up with someone else's, stuff going on in their life? Why? Why do we need all this? Why can't there just be a separation? I have my thing, you do your thing, and just, let us be. We'll respect one another, but don't come into my space. I won't go into yours. The other reason is also from the Torah, the Baal Shem Tov. So the other aspect of this, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, arevim zeh b'zeh, mixed up in a big chulin pot, is what the Baal Shem Tov teaches, a beautiful Torah. You can look it up, you can learn about it. It's called the Torah of Mirrors. And he teaches that the whole world is just one big mirror. There is no anybody else. All I see in someone else is myself. Meaning, when I go and take a look at someone else, and we're going to look at the positive and the negative. Let's just not only take the negative. We want to take the positive too. I'm going to start with that. If I look at someone else and I see them doing a beautiful mitzvah, and I see them treating someone across the street, doing something real, that aspect is in me. I'm seeing myself in there. And then the flip side is also, if I see a young mother, even if I'm a grandmother age, and I see a young mother not, treating her child correctly, and I wasn't there, I don't know what the child did to deserve whatever, being yelled at or yanked at or whatever, God forbid, all in range, yes? I have to know that there's an aggressive part inside of me. There's an aggression in me, because God wouldn't make me witness that unless I was seeing a part of that in me. So there's a mirrored effect. And that goes, and I'm going to say something very daring, but there's no exceptions to this rule. If I am interacting with my spouse, and there's a part of my spouse that I'm not too fond about, and I think to myself, that's not me. I mean, I'm really not that. I'm not, ungrateful. I'm not angry. I'm not short-tempered. I'm not whatever, impatient, and we can go on and on. And right, can we have a whole class on all the aspects of spouses that we're not happy with, even though my spouse is here, right? But all in all, I don't have any friends. But all in all, if I see that, and particularly because it's my spouse, in fact, the more I see it often in my spouse, in my child, with my in-laws, the more I experience that, the more it resonates in me. If it's a neighbor that I see once every 6 months, and every time I see her, she reminds me of something, it's there. There's a schmutz inside of me, but it's not so heavy. It's not so deep. But if it's something that I keep encountering over and over and over again, I have to look inside myself. And here's where the redemption process begins. I have to redeem that part of myself. Now, why is God so interested in showing me the annoyances of my life, showing me that from someone else? And one of the main reasons is because after 120, if we go up blemished, without correcting those pieces of ourselves, without redeeming those aspects of ourselves, we are going to file a complaint, literally, against the supreme authority of the world. We are going to say to him, I don't understand. You can't judge me. Did you give me warnings? Like every police, you have to know the rules. You've got to know the rules before you're sort of, judged on them, right? You can't, if you didn't go through a whole process of a driver's ed, you can't be held accountable for running a red light because you weren't taught the rules. So at the end of the day, we understand that we're all mixed together. We understand we hold responsibility for one another. So we can't come up there at the end of the day and say to God, I didn't know that I was supposed to work on my anger. Well, didn't I send you a spouse that all the time made you angry? Wasn't that wasn't that a big enough hint? Would you want to send you a whole community that gets you angry? I send you a husband you're sleeping with all day, you're interacting with all day. Don't you understand? So at the end of the day, we have to understand that we are here to correct ourselves. And there's no way, does anybody know how they look? How come?
Mirror.
What? Mirror. But is that really you? How do you know that's really you?
Depends on the day.
Depends on what I choose, huh? How I'm going to... So our beautiful Torah sages teach us that what you're actually looking at when you're looking at a mirror is not you. Because what is it exactly? You really don't know how you look, by the way. And the way you think you look in a mirror is not the way you really look. When somebody looks at you, you're actually size 0, long blonde hair, you have teeth. No, we really don't know how we look. We really don't. The sages teach us that when you look in a mirror, what you're actually looking at is really at a glass. But what's on that glass? What's the lining on that glass? What's the covering? Silver. Do you know how do you say silver in Hebrew? Kesef. You know what kesef is? Kesef. It's not only money. Not only is it money bribery, which is 100% true, we bribe ourselves to seeing what we want. It's not only that, but it's also from the word lechashef. It's magic. Kisuf. Kisuf means something magical. I look in the mirror and I see the Cinderella. Even though I'm in ragged, literally, I'm in rag. Where do you think they get these ideas, by the way, from? They go, all the people in Hollywood, they're all Jewish. They know Kabbalah. Like, literally. And they know the ragged Cinderella looks in the mirror and sees herself in this beautiful gown, right? That's the way we want to see ourselves. But at the end of the day, what does God say? I'm telling you, you have chocolate milk still on your lips. Do you want to go out to your interview that way? Do you want to go out to the most important interview of your life to nail the job that you so badly want when you have a beautiful mustache of chocolate milk from the chocolate, if anybody still drinks, I love chocolate milk, right? No, you want to be told that. You want to be told that you have chocolate milk still stuck on your lips. And how does Hashem teach you that you have a blemish? He sends you someone annoying. And that's how you know that you have... But you're going to say, but I don't understand. I was never angry until I didn't have children. I never had an anger issue. I was very calm. I was all day in the sun. I loved my nieces, my nephews, right? Don't you love them? But when you have to wake up at 3 in the morning, it's a little bit different, yes? Right? And you're like, I can't really see. Can somebody please take this child till 6 or 7 in the morning, or 6 or 7 years old? Even better, right? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, at the end of the day, we really, really, really will not know who we are unless our button gets pushed. In fact, as one of the daily doses of Emuna here says, who pressed my button? Literally, I named it Who Pressed My Button. Because the buttons that are pressed in our lives, we all want to fulfill our purpose. We all want to go back up to Shemayim after 120, better, quote unquote, cleaner, quote unquote, more refined and corrected than the way we came in. We all do. That's our inner ratzon. That's our inner desire. That's our inner drive. We all do. And so that's why I said to you before, at the end of the day, if I don't correct myself, excuse me, at the end of the day, I'm going to come and complain. Because up there, I'm going to recognize the value of what it means to come back corrected. Right? So there's no way for me to essentially redeem those parts of myself unless I interact with someone else who's going to alert me, make me more conscious. And the only way I become conscious, I'm not aware of too aware of the good things that everyone else does. I mean, that's nice. I appreciate it. We work, right? This whole attitude of gratefulness. And we want to develop that. It's very important. But we don't tend to stay with that too long. What we tend to stay are the things that are really, really difficult for us. And in fact, as the Zohar teaches us, that if you actually were able to physiologically, biologically, scientifically, however you call it, medically define the space in the eye of a human eye where the person actually sees the image, they actually see the image. We all view the world through the pupil, through the black. That's how essentially we see. We see only through the black. The white, we don't see through the white, we see through the black. Which means it's through the darkness, so to speak. It's through the challenges, and you have a lot of white there, right? But you know, God said, no, I want you to see through. And what is the little pupil called in Hebrew? Ishon, little person, right? Little person, that's how you're supposed to see the whole world, right? You're a little person, and you're also looking at this big, 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 big world, right? So the whole idea is we have to change the way that we interact with people. And God says, within that state, in fact, the exact words is, Misham Timtza Hashem. From that place of the black, of the difficulty, of the darkness, of the challenge, that's where you're going to find God. Why? Because that's how you're going to not discover, you're going to rediscover yourself. You already know who you are. You're already in touch with the perfection, that perfected place within you. You've been in touch with it all your life. It's just a lot of layers of thousands of lifetimes, of reincarnations, and we've traveled a lot, 5,779 years. It's quite a lot of traveling that we've done in our life. And so essentially we forgot that perfected state. We've been around the corner quite a few times. The wandering Jew is a real concept. We really have been around town, and we've accumulated a lot of emotions. We've accumulated a lot of negativity throughout our lifetimes, and particularly in one lifetime we've certainly accumulated a lot. And so essentially God says, from there, from that place of difficulty, that's where I want you to find your perfection. That's where I want you to find your godliness. How? By perfecting yourself. You see, you raise the bar of your godliness, particularly when you decide to go against your animalistic impulse. The animalistic impulse is, like I said, the Western society really knows how to coach us in terms of the animal aspects of us, because that's what they know. They don't really preach the godliness. So what are they going to tell you? What does an animal do when they're not happy? They bark, they run away, right? They go and look for something else. That's not who we are. We're not animals. We're here to elevate from that state. We're here to elevate ourselves. So from the pain, we're supposed to find God. Look at the interesting concept of out of all the words in the lexicon, that God could have called and named the name pain. What does he choose? How do you say it in Hebrew? Ke'ev. Do you know what ke'ev is? Kaf, av. Ke'av. Anybody ever think about that? In the word ke'ev, pain, there's the kaf and then there's av. You know what the kaf is? What is a kaf in Hebrew? Spoon. Spoon. Do you know what that is? Ke'ev. In every pain, it's God saying, I'm going to lift you up. I'm carrying you. I'm carrying you. I'm the handle. You're on the spoon. I'm carrying you. I'm taking you. I'm with you. I'm scooping you up. I'm with you in every aspect of your pain. And that's what the month of Av is all about. That's the underlying message. God is saying, I am with you. I am with you in everything. Imo anochi b'tzara. I am with you. I am coaching you. I'm the coach that gets you up at 2 a.m. and says, get out of bed. Don't you know you are training for the gold medals? Don't you know you will not get to the gold medals if you're sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning? Don't you know the only way you're going to really, really win that gold medal is I get you up at 2 a.m. I tell you, get around, do the laps, 10 laps. Come on, one more, go up the hurdle. And every time I'm going to raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar. What's happening to your muscles? Growing stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. I always say, sometimes God interacts with us through revealed love and sometimes through tough love. But who hasn't here yet practiced in their life tough love? And who hasn't stood by that tough love and said, but I love that child. I love that person. But I have to be tough here. I have to, restrain myself. I have to sort of discipline myself to not do everything in the most revealed way. One day they'll understand. Who hasn't caught themselves in that process of knowing that there's an investment of discipline in order to achieve and bring out the maximum of love and the maximum of goodness in the other person. That's essentially what God is. I want to just say one more thing. Do I have a little bit more time? Oh, okay. I'm hot though. We completely shut off the air conditioning and now I'm like schwitzing. I'd love to because I need water.
What if somebody is all the time attacking you? In other words, they're accusing you of things that don't exist, or they write like that, and you just want to explode and stop, leave me alone. And how do you handle that? I'm talking about family members. Okay?
Right. So remember, I said, if we're talking about an abusive situation, and I don't know what we're talking about, you don't have to expose it, and it's not the place. No. Emotional abuse is okay? Emotional abuse is abuse. It's just a different preface to the word abuse, but it's still abuse. So if we're talking about emotional abuse, I'm not going to I'm not going to refer you about anything because I'm not going to advise you on anything because I think you need to go to Rav. This is much greater than just giving you a piece of advice, in 5 seconds on, standing up here. But as a whole, one thing we have to remember in every challenge that we go through. Now, I know you're going to say, I really did that. And I'm going to say, yes, you did. And you'll be, okay, I don't remember doing that. But say that. Well, that's called spiritual amnesia. Okay. Every one of us, before we came down into this world, we signed on a dotted line on a contract. God said, okay, look, I'm opening up the book for you. Now, I want you to refer to page 52 whenever you have this in this issue. Yes, you see it? And He implanted in us that there's going to be an issue at the age of 35 with such and such person on the street and so on and so forth. He says, but don't forget, 52 follows 53, 53 follows 52. I'm going to give you the solution on page 53. So in other words, the way that we were brought down into this world, we weren't just sent down blindly. Number one, we were shown once, and for sure, and that was when we were in Shemaim, but many commentaries say that when we were in Mommy's tummy, we were shown our life again through the teaching of the angel, who basically taught us, everything that we're going to go through, reminded us once again, because to travel from Shemaim to the mother's womb, anyone want to take a guess how long it took us? It was a long travel. Anybody want to? Chazal bring down sort of in like years that we can. Anybody have an idea how long it would take for a neshama to travel from Ham? Raise the bar. Raise the bar. 1,000 years. 1,000 years. In this sort of, if we can calculate in this years, in this lifetime, I guess in our time frame, 1,000 years. So we kind of forgot what we were taught up there. I mean, I don't think I remember what happened to me 1,000 years ago, let alone, what happened to me right now, right? So at the end of the day, we are even retaught that. And we're told the problems and we're told the solutions. And the reason why we agree to it is because in addition to being taught the problems, so to speak, or the issues, the challenges, and the solutions, there's something else that's also presented to us. And that is what we become, how we grow and develop from this challenge. Problem, solution, new me. If I could put it in a formula, that's what it becomes. There's a new me that becomes due to the challenges and me in taking in the solutions, which are there. Now, but I forgot. First of all, I don't remember signing on that contract. I really don't know if the pen was working at the time, or I was just really going through a moment of temporary insanity up there. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking when I said I was going to go through this challenge and have this, and I'd be still okay with it. Really? Okay. But again, up there, we showed everything, the difficulty, the solution, and the greatness that we achieved. Again, the golden medal, don't forget, the golden medal that comes out from us. So, and the fact that, remember the Ke'ev, right? That God is also with us in everyone. He's with us in the problem, the solution, and the new me. He's there in every single one of those phases. So, first of all, that's the first mindset you have to have is, okay, I'm not here alone. God is with me. And now, if I ever want to know how I can actually interact with him, Rabbi Nachman brings down a very simple formula. Again, also 3 simple words that formulate a question. Rabbi Nachman says, whenever you find yourself in a difficulty, you have to say the following: where are you? Simple? We can all remember that, right? Where are you? You go to God and you say, where are you? I don't know where you are here. I feel alone. Right? This develops a whole conversation. I don't know where you are. I feel alone. I feel lost. I feel like I can't take anymore. I feel like I'm going to throw the plate across the room. I feel. And unless you come and step into my life and reveal yourself, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right? It brings upon a whole dialogue. Now, interesting, when you say, where are you? What you're really implying is you are here, because why would I ask, where are you? When you're playing hide and seek, and the kids say, where are you? They know that the other child is here, right? They just don't see him, but they know that they know he's there. But otherwise, why would you scream out and say, where are you? So that's the other thing you have to take into consideration, is that you're not alone. And if you really don't know where to go, and I know we're told a lot about the secluded prayer and, hitbodedut and everything, it really is a tool for life. It really is a tool for life to really ask for the solution and be ready to receive. Remember we said we have to be ready to receive that which God wants to give us. And He's all the time giving us. But we have to be ready to receive. Again, this is excluding, abuse that, needs the attention of a rabbinical, intervention. Certainly I don't want to advise on those issues. But all in all, those are the 2 suggestions that I give to you. Okay? Just a starting point. There's probably a lot more that could be done, but just a starting point. Very interesting point that's brought down by the Arizal. Arizal says that we have to perform 613 mitzvahs. But wait a minute. There are mitzvahs that are incumbent only upon a man. There are mitzvahs that are only incumbent on a woman. There are mitzvahs just for the thief. There are mitzvahs just for the Kohanim. There are mitzvahs just for the Leviim. There are mitzvahs only for the ger. Right? In one lifetime, I can only be something or another, right? I mean, maybe I can grab 2 of those statuses, but I can't grab all those statuses. I mean, God willing, I'm not going to have to be a thief that has to return, right? That's a mitzvah, to return that which you stole. Well, I don't want to incur that mitzvah because I don't want to steal from the first place. How is it possible to fulfill all 613 mitzvahs? You're living in Chutz La'aretz, right? How can you fulfill the mitzvahs of being in Israel if you've never stepped a foot? Let's say a person's never stepped foot in Israel and doesn't live here. So there's a lot in the Bet HaMikdash, all these beautiful mitzvot. The Arizal says, wait, how is a person supposed to perform? And that's the level of perfection. We're supposed to perform all 613 mitzvahs. And there's commentaries going back and forth of what that really means. I'm not going to go into the whole discussion and debate, but at the end of the day, the Arizal says a person will have to come, listen to this, and reincarnate in every possible format and state in order to be Mekayim and perform all 613 mitzvahs, which means once you're going to be a man, once you're going to be a woman, once you're going to be a Kohen, once you're going to be a Levi, once you, God forbid, not on anybody, once you'll have to steal, once you'll have to be a converti, blah, 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 blah. That's a lot of times to be down here. I mean, I'm not quite sure I really want to come back all those times. I mean, yeah, maybe if I didn't see Sweden, I'd love to come back down and see it. But other than that, I don't know if I really want to keep coming back down here, right? So, there's a solution that also is offered through this debate. And what is the solution? Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. If I love the ger, what does that make me? Interacting with them. So I'm going through the process, I'm enjoying my energy, I'm enjoying my presence with the ger. Essentially, I go through the process with them, I accept them, I become one with them, I'm a ger. You see how it works? If I learn to judge in favor the thief that returned the article that he stole, right? Essentially, again, I enjoin and I become one with them, and this is how I'm able to actually essentially take part in all of the mitzvahs. This is how I'm able to do it. If we look at life from that perspective, and I see that everyone essentially is an extension of myself, then I understand that it's so much easier for me to come closer to everyone else, because I recognize that I'm enjoined in them, and I'm fulfilling a part of myself, and I'm redeeming a part of myself through them, through the bitter and the better, right? It's through both. I'm enjoining with them. I'm collectively going through my own process with them, through them, in them, around them, and so on and so forth, and them through me. And therefore, I'm able to achieve a wholesome experience of all the mitzvahs all in one shot, and not have to be coming up and down the elevator through 1,000 years, up and down, up and down. Boy, wonder why we're tired? Imagine how many times coming in and out, in and out. I always say, one of the reasons why we're in a recycled generation is because we're recyclable. We ourselves have been recycled so many times. Who knows what nose I had, what eye I had, what has been replaced in me. There's a whole recycling going on all the time. We can achieve so much. And in fact, the Shomer Emunim writes something magnificent that I really feel is important. The Shomer Emunim writes, in our generation, this is it, the end of times, end of days, that's where we're at. Everyone, right across the board, there's not a Sephardi, a Lubavitcher, a Hasidic, or a Litvish, or any, Taimoni Rav that's not saying we are at the end of times. Like, it's just known. Right? We know we're at the end of times. The Shomer Emunim writes, in our time, in our generation, due to the difficulty of all of the difficulties of challenges and hardships and woe things that we're going through, right? He says, we will be able, in one generation, our generation, to correct all the misdeeds and transgressions from Adam HaRishon up until now, all in one lifetime. We're going to be able to uplift everything. In other words, this one generation has the ability to be metaken, correct, and refine everything, quote unquote, that we've done wrong. And think about it, when you think about it from a logical perspective, it kind of makes sense. Think about, as, take out a loan from the bank, right? This is a mashal. You take a loan from the bank, and as you edge near to the due date of the note of the loan, right? You can't go in there and now start renegotiating all kinds of terms. It doesn't make sense to start renegotiating. You're at the end of the term. You just basically have one or two more payments. Why are you coming and renegotiating terms? It doesn't make sense. The bank says, pay back the loan. We'll talk about it maybe after that, but right now you got to pay it back. You're edging at the end. There's no more time. And that's essentially what's happening in our generation. Hashem is saying to us, don't you understand? There's no more time for reincarnations. You can't come back another 1,000 times. Mashiach's already here. You can't come back now and start, keep coming back over and over. No more recycling anymore. You've got to finish your tikkun now, in this generation, which is one of the reasons why we're so bombarded with so many different crazy, out of left field, challenges that we're all dealing with. Things that don't make sense. I used to be able, people used to, a lot of women contact me, right? I get emails, I get WhatsApps, I get phone calls, random, and asking me all kinds of questions. Even in the last few years, I'm noticing that the things they used to ask me 6 years ago, 7 years ago, there was some logic that I was able to give them, like, a different perspective, like a higher or widened perspective, a glimpse onto their issue. There was some logic that I can explain to them today. The things that are coming out, the complaints, the hardships, the challenges, they're so out of left field. I just sit there and I sigh with them. I can't logically, there's no logic that I can explain to them as to what they can even do. So this is it. That's where these, God willing, these books and these lectures are coming forth, is to just elevate your Emuna in understanding. Just because I can't, little old me, I can't explain it to you or to anybody else or to myself. I can't explain it to myself either. I mean, the most crazy things have been happening to me in the last year. It's been a crazy year for me, personally. Just because I can't understand, I can't wrap my little pea-sized brain around it, it doesn't mean there's no answer. It's the 2-year-old who wants you to explain to them what the graduate in medical school is learning right now. How can you explain to a 2-year-old the dynamics of what brain surgery is? How can you explain it to them? Does that mean there isn't a logical process? No. You cannot explain it to them, but that doesn't mean there's no answer. We were promised, we were told, God is good. There's an explanation. Everything He does is for the best. He loves us. There's purpose. I can go on and on and on and on. Where the Torah is completely filled with these messages. Not once, not twice, not three. In every corner of Torah. That's what we're told. So God's not just playing a game with us. He's not just telling us messages and just not going to live up to it. There are real, meaningful reasons for everything. And I mean everything that we're going through. Everything we've gone through, going through, and will go through. Everything is exactly divinely planned to the T. Just because I can't wrap my head around it and I don't understand it, doesn't mean there's not an answer for it. Doesn't mean there's not some sort of logic behind it. I just can't understand. And that's why these classes and the Daily Dose of Emuna is dedicated all these years, and not just me, plenty of speakers, beautiful speakers out there. Get involved. Learn Emuna. Learn, increase your dot. Today there's this new concept of mindfulness, right? What is mindfulness? It's just expanding your consciousness. It's really Emuna. It's expanding your mind to know that there's more to life than what you're dealing with right now. That's what mindfulness is. They're just taking our name Emuna and they're calling it a nice, catchy word called mindfulness. But at the end of the day, it's all about us just enhancing the idea that there is a reason. And yes, just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not there. So again, there's a lot more to talk about, but the hour, is late. And if anybody has any questions, I'm very, very happy to answer. At the end of the day, our tafkid, our role in this world, and particularly in the month of Av, we're challenged with the message of hope, with the message of trust. That's what Emuna is. It's hoping and trusting that it's all good. That's what it is. And doubt is the exact opposite, is I don't trust that what God is doing is good. So every time, and that's why, by the way, if you look at the word safek, doubt, nowhere in the Torah would you find the word safek. Nowhere. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. There is no such thing as doubting. There's either certainty or it doesn't exist. There is no doubt. Doubt means, I don't know. What is I don't know? You don't know if there's a God. You don't know if He's good. There is no I don't know. It's either you believe or you don't. It's the Yetzer Hara is trying to get us to not really say, oh, okay, I'll just surrender to the situation. I'll just know that He's, doing the right. So he puts in that shadow, but that's not, it's an illusion. There is no such thing as doubt. So at the end of the day, our job on the onset of Av is to really embrace Av. It's to really embrace God, right? It's to embrace the idea that there is hope, that there is a good message, that at the end of the day, if it's not revealed good, it's going to be revealed to us, right? It's not that it's going to be good. That's not the correct translation. It's not that it's going to be good. No, yet tov, it's a little bit of a problem with that. What is yet tov? Well, it's not good now. No, it means I don't see it. You could say it's either good, that it's revealed to me, or it's yet to be revealed, right? One or the other, but it's all good. It's all good. And again, just because I don't see it, it means I have a mask on me. And soon, God willing, through the power of redemption, our own redemption, we'll be able to have that mask removed and we'll be able to see the truth.
I think that everybody knows that God is around and God is with us all day long and everything. It doesn't solve the problem of why did this happen now? And what does Hashem want me to do now or something?
Right.
I have a little thing, just me personally. He's around me all the time. Okay? He doesn't know I don't exercise enough so everything falls down. I got to bend over. I know, thank you very much, but when I want to thread the needle in the sewing machine, okay, it's very difficult to do that. So I was doing it last time, every 2 minutes it would break off, and I said, Hashem, I know you have a lot of more important things to do, but please help me again. The minute you say, please help me, he puts the thread in there, all the time.
So wait a minute, is that not a hug from Shemai? He's really busy up there. Do you know, for him to come all the way down here to put a needle... But for God to come down and His busy schedule and put a thread in the hole of the needle, that's pretty good. I think you got a good connection going there. Can I share your communication line? I think you've got 1-800-Almighty down pat.
But that doesn't excuse that something this happens and why does this and why are you doing this to me now?
Right. So the whys don't get us anywhere, because again, the why Go explain the whys. Here, I'll give you an example. You're crossing this, not you, I don't like to ever give it to anybody, right? A person's crossing the street, and as they're crossing the street, they suddenly, out of nowhere, get yanked and thrown to the sidewalk, pushed back. Boy, if that would happen to me, I'd be turning around and say, who did that? And now that person is sitting on the sidewalk with a broken shoulder, needs to go in an ambulance and go to the hospital. They can't move their arm for quite some time without surgery. Little did they know that their friend was the one that pushed them from the street onto the sidewalk because it was an ongoing car and they didn't know. And they could have died. So yes, they suffered from a bad shoulder, and yes, walk around with a sling and can't, and someone has to cut the onions and garlic and do the sponja and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, their life was saved. This is God with us. This is God. We are interacting on a very tiny level because we're not privy to the whole picture. And I always love the example, right? Whoever goes to movies, doesn't go to movies, did go to movies, doesn't matter. You'll understand the concept. You go and walk into a movie. You're late. You're late. You go into the movie, an hour into the movie. This one's shooting that. This one's harassing that. This one fell in love with that. Oh, why'd you do that? And then you leave. 10 minutes into the movie. I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie at all. I'm checking out. I'm going to the other theater. But you just came in the middle of the movie. You weren't there when John met Moshe met, Sarah. You weren't there. You didn't see that they had, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah. You didn't see all that. This is us. We walk into the middle of our life. You have to understand, we're here, 5,779, going into 5,780. There's 5,779 years worth of movies and histories and collections and who knows what. Who knows what in all areas of the world. It's not even just in Israel, not even in Netanya. Can you imagine how much history we've missed out on that we don't even know, we don't remember? How can we sit here and say, why did you give me this husband? Why didn't you not put the thread in the needle? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like a little bit of like, okay, I really don't understand, but where are you? You could still say, where are you? Where are you? Just come down, just embrace me, just love me, just show me, just reassure me that I'm not alone, and just reassure me that you're here and you're guiding me, and this is not just bad mazel, and I didn't just pick a bad lemon in a whole basket, and I can't even make lemonade with a rotten lemon, like I can't do anything with it. Come and embrace me and show me and love me and hug me. And just like you said, you'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll experience it, and then it'll be worth the high price of going through that difficulty. That's what I always say, everything has a price.
I had a Rav once who said like this, all the history of Yiddishkeit is a giant tapestry that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was weaving. Okay, and any particular period is one piece of that puzzle.
Right.
And any person living in that particular time is like one stitch on that tapestry.
Oh, I love it.
All you see is exactly what's around that one stitch, and we don't see how that piece fits in the puzzle, the whole.
And I'm gonna build on that. I heard another Rav, they probably were brothers. I heard another Rav say that you know what you're really seeing? The other side of the tapestry with all the knots and all the connections and all these, and it looks like a big giant mess. And you know what Hashem's going to do when Mashiach comes? He's going to go, whoop, and you'll be like, oh, that's a pretty picture. Where's my stitch in that? Literally, where is my stitch there? And Hashem's going to show you. And this is the one last point I'll bring down. I think so. Navi Zachariah says, Hashem rejoices in every little thing that you do. You were quiet in the face of humiliation. It's being recorded. Someone's writing. Someone's seeing. Someone's hearing. Everything's being recorded. And Navi Zachariah says, every act brings Mashiach. Every act. Even when you're in the four corners of your home and you think to yourself, nobody's watching. Nobody saw what I just did. Nobody just saw how I took extra effort to get up, to make the coffee. Nobody heard in my mind the battles I was going through to be nice to my husband in spite of the fact, da-da-da-da-da. There's always someone who knows. And that it adds on to the package deal of merits. And that's what brings Mashiach. You want to ask something?
I wanted,
Yeah.
yes, I wanted to ask if we have someone in our area who lost a that person not use Emuna. It's like
Right.
what to do, like what
Right.
no words can really bring back the person.
Right, absolutely. So I say like this, thank God Hashem gave us logic. When you're interacting with someone, and they're in a very downtrodden state, in mourning and in grief, you are not to talk to their intellect. They're completely consumed by their emotions at that time, and all that resonates to them is emotions. You need to speak their language. You need to speak only to their emotions. I love you. I'm here for you. You don't even have to mention God. If the idea of mentioning God is throwing them off, don't go there. Just, I'm with you. We're with you. Look at this community. Look how much everyone loves you. Just talk the same language. As, God willing, they'll begin to slowly exit a little bit, pull away, because that's what the grieving and mourning period is about. We shift. Everything moves. People in the worst state of mourning eventually shift and are able to bring a little bit of intellect, a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of consciousness, a little bit of dot. They open up a little space. The heart is not all consuming anymore. There's more space in the brain to accept the logic of Emuna, so to speak. That's when you start bringing in. So you have to really, our job is not to right away push Emuna. Read the signs, read. They say the biggest act of chesed, you know what it is? What does the person need from me right now? It's not what I want to give them. It doesn't matter that I want to give them chocolate cake because I want to have leftovers and feed it to my kids. Maybe they don't like chocolate cake. Maybe they like vanilla. I'm playing around with it, but you understand what I'm saying. If what the person needs is for you to go out to the supermarket for them, no matter how pitiful and nothingness it's for you, it's everything for them. That's a true act of chesed. It's what they need. It's not what I want to give them. Okay? And you had a question too?
I have a question.
Yes.
In a nutshell, what would your advice be for someone trying to, like teachers and people wanting to influence children, teenagers? Because I'm a teacher and I already see I'm young, I'm in my 30s, but I feel massive generational shifts in terms of where I am consciously and where they are. And it's very hard to reach them. They're in a very different world with social media and a lot of things telling them what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to know how to reach them.
The students.
Reaching them.
Students?
Yeah.
Again.
I think they're so lost. They want to find themselves,
Right.
and they don't know which way to go. There are so many things telling them this is important, this is important, this is important.
Right. So I believe that young people have inquisitive minds. Right? That's the saying. Young kids have inquisitive minds. They'll ask questions from way out there. They'll be like, "How did you even think about asking me a question like that?" I think we need to engage as opposed to teach the younger generation. We need to have them engage in, number one, we've got to awaken their hearts. So it used to be a thing, at least in my time, where we would take out our children from school. We'd have them go to Bikur Cholim. We'd have them go to elderly people. We would have them make challah, I don't know, and hand deliver it to, like, you understand, we have to have them engage in something meaningful. Unless you teach a child through their emotional level that there's meaning aside from the phone, aside from the movies and the characters, right? Unless you teach them that, they're not going to be in a position where they're going to want to you have to understand, they're picking up an iPad and they're filled with emotions. Their heart's racing, their eyes are moving, and you're going to sit there and you're going to start talking to them on a level that's very flat surfaced and very one-dimensional. You can't, there's no comparison. They're not going to go for it. You need colors. You need emotions. You need experiences. You need the adrenaline rush for them. You need to literally, we are called to up everything. I mean, I have to tell you, one of my passions is to go into the Jewish Educational Board and to say to them, it should be mandatory, not once a week, not a half an hour schmooze before they're ready to leave for Shabbos. Every day there needs to be an Emuna schmooze. Emuna schmooze means semicircle, you sit and say, ask your questions. Literally, that's the Emuna schmooze. You need to let the children ask their questions. Let them question. They have it. It's there. They're questioning God. They're questioning. You're sitting here with your dot, and you have a lot of Torah behind you. You have classes behind you. You have all that. They don't even have that, and you have questions. They don't even have that. And then we wonder why these kids aren't getting where they're going. They're not given the forum. They're not given the stage to be able to feel safe to ask the questions. And sometimes the answers to the questions could be just like I'm presenting it. I don't know. Pea-sized brain. Like, you understand, you've got to have also someone who knows how to answer it. But first of all, we've got to engage, number one, their emotions. We've got to get them to feel excited over Judaism. They're not excited over Judaism. It's boring for them in many ways. I'm sorry to say, but in many ways, the educational system is not serving the exciting competition that the world offers them. I'm sorry. You have to have dancing. You've got to put on music in the middle of school. In the middle of school, put on music and dance with these children. Ani mami, have them sit. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're not doing this. We're not engaging with them. We're just teaching them. But teaching them is teaching them in their mind. They're not getting it. They're not getting emotionally excited over it. So if you want to be creative and take a daring move and do something, extraordinary, that's what I suggest. Open up conversations, do projects. Let them see the faces of what it feels like to do a mitzvah. Let them see the other side, the older person receiving something they did. All right, first grade or second grade, sometimes we do that with like pictures. But do we take them to actually have them see what the outcome of it is? They need to see the whole process so they could be excited over it. Rabbi Nachman says that when you do a process of tshuva, getting into Elul soon, right? You do a process of tshuva, you need to bring up your good points as much as you bring up your bad points. Because you have to excite yourself over the progress that you've made. Otherwise, how are you going to be able to fix the things that you've done wrong? You're going to constantly be bashing yourself. You have to remember that at one point you did tshuva, and those things stood, and stayed with you. You should celebrate your success. It's about seeing the process, right? It's about seeing the process. It's very challenging, and I think it's not an easy task to actually bring the educational system to want to listen to people like me. But I think it's mandatory, a must. I mean, I know people say, well, we learn hashkafa. It's also, you just learn, you're learning. I didn't say it's not important, to learn. You have to learn the Gemara. You have to, of course. But there has to be something else onto that, right? So, good luck. I bid you all the blessings to be able to really do something in your little classroom. Okay, so books are here, and again, Ukraine's open, and thank you for coming. Chodesh Tov. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you.